Imagine going on a journey. On that journey, you've crossed paths with interesting characters and locales. But now, the critical moment has arrived, and to get what you set out to achieve in the first place, you must go to the most dangerous place imaginable. This trope is used in many adventure stories. David Adams Lemming called it the descent into the underworld, a trope first popularized in stories like that of Orpheus and Eurydice. In stories with key themes of temptation, good versus evil, and hope, this could be the most important scene. I'm Mediocrity4 and welcome to the inaugural episode of MIS, where I discuss the thematic content of a film or season of television by discussing its most important scene. There is no hyperbole in saying that Star Wars is one of the most important pieces of film ever constructed and among the most important pieces of art in contemporary culture. For all two of you who don't know, Star Wars follows the adventures of the Skywalker family, with Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy and his father Anakin in the prequel trilogy. Verdict's still out on how the new trilogy is going to go. At its heart, Star Wars is the story about the rise, fall, and redemption of Anakin Skywalker. But as much as George Lucas may talk about poetry, the character arcs of Luke and Anakin couldn't be any more different. But for the sake of brevity, let's focus in on something that happens in every single movie, going behind enemy lines, where powerful forces of evil are sure to be waiting, and trying to achieve the main goal. In Phantom Menace, Naboo is completely taken over by the Trade Federation. Now, it is a big flaw with the film that we're not shown this, but we are told that under the Federation's rule, the Nabooians, whatever, are dying. So, Queen Amidala gets impatient, unwilling to wait for the election of a new Supreme Chancellor, and takes matters into her own hands. She descends into Naboo with just 2 Jedi, a couple guards, a Gungan, and a young Anakin for some reason. In Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan gets captured in the desert planet of Geonosis. When Anakin and Padme find out, they stage a rescue mission even though they know how dangerous it could be. Once again, Padme is unwilling to wait for the government, just this time they're voting whether or not to use a clone army. Which brings us to Revenge of the Sith, which has not 1, not 2, but 3 instances like this. First is at the very beginning with Obi-Wan and Anakin crashing into the enemy flagship to rescue Chancellor Palpatine, but they come across Count Dooku. Let's put a pin in that for later. You also have the Chancellor's office, which doesn't really follow the trope of the underworld, but it is where the devil roosts, and it is the focal point of Anakin's temptation. Lastly, you have the literal interpretation of hell with Mustafar, where Obi-Wan and Padme must descend to stop Anakin before it's too late. What they find, though, breaks their heart. Anakin has abandoned the ideals of the Jedi and has been consumed by the dark side. The original Star Wars has a much lighter version. The Death Star serves 2 purposes. It is the Forbidden Fortress where all the bad guys live and they keep the kidnapped princess, but it's also the giant monster that needs to be stopped. This is also the one place none of our heroes choose to go. They just wanted to get to Alderaan, but Alderaan got 86'd, and so the Millennium Falcon gets caught in the Death Star's tractor beam and gets pulled in. Every other encounter between the Jedi and Sith in this franchise is spurned from the choice of the heroes to face the villains. Take, for instance, Empire Strikes Back. Luke chooses, against the wisdom of Yoda and Obi-Wan, to rescue his friends. This puts him right in the clutches of Darth Vader. And if Bespin wasn't already hell, Darth Vader puts Luke through it. Vader does everything he can to break Luke. Vader wants Luke to give in to the dark side. I believe Vader was genuine when he said he wanted to rule the galaxy as father and son. But Luke doesn't believe it. Why would he? He has no reason to believe what Vader says. Nothing except his feelings anyway. This is why he leaps off that platform. He even has to confirm Vader's identity with Yoda and Obi-Wan in the next movie. I love the visual storytelling here, almost as much as I love the next confrontation. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Palpatine watches the battle between a young Skywalker and the Sith Lord responsible for cutting off his hand, all the while a critical space battle rages in the background. George Lucas purposely made the scene in Revenge of the Sith mirror the one in Return of the Jedi. This is the critical moment of each of the trilogies. This is the most important scene. And Palpatine serves the proverbial devil on the shoulder in both cases, which is especially dangerous because at the critical moments there is no angel to counteract them. He is the most powerful Sith Lord in the series, and he has free reign to manipulate the events as he sees fit. It's kind of scary how much weight his every word has on our leads, and Ian McDiarmid does such a perfect job playing every word and gesture up. And you can see the power of the dark side fighting our protagonists in their wardrobe. Color is a very important literary tool, and Star Wars has a very overt way of showing it. Anakin wears all black, as opposed to the usual brown and white worn by other Jedi. The traditional Jedi robes are meant to look worn, showing the humility and purity of the Jedi's virtues. Anakin, on the other hand, he wants to look cool. He wants to be a badass, and it's his lust for power that leads to his ultimate downfall. Looking at Luke, we see a very different story. His garb in the original film is white, but realistically dirty from living on Tatooine. In Empire, he wears the gray getup of the Rebel Alliance. The wide-eyed dreaming farm boy is left behind and replaced by the slightly less idealistic revolutionary. By Return of the Jedi, he wears an all-black suit, complete with a single leather glove. Consciously, we know he's not going to turn to the dark side. Star Wars is about hope and redemption, not doom and gloom. Even when we see Anakin turning to the dark side in the prequels, we know how it's going to end up in the long run. But that's just consciously. Subconsciously, we see Luke riding that line. So many of his scenes, especially towards the end, are cloaked in shadow. Mark Hamill does an amazing job portraying Luke's internal struggle in this damn good scene. And we see him lose it for just a moment. This happened with Anakin too. He used anger to defeat Count Dooku. Dooku took his arm. He wanted revenge. Even when he regrets killing him, he only says that it's not the Jedi way. He shows no personal remorse except that he broke the Jedi code. Palpatine even tells him he should be proud of what he accomplished. And even though the line doesn't make sense the way the scene is structured, Palpatine tells him to leave his conscience behind. And by that, I mean Obi-Wan. I can't be the only one who noticed that, and that by separating these two, Palpatine succeeds in getting his new apprentice. Luke finds himself in a similar situation. Vader cut off his hand. Luke turned himself over because he believed he could remind his father of the man he once was. Meanwhile, Vader and Palpatine are doing everything they can to turn Luke to the dark side, and he almost does. He refuses to fight at first, but slowly, through the course of the battle, he gets more aggressive. Then he snaps when Vader begins taunting him about Leia. He uses anger to defeat Vader. He violently hacks off his hand. Palpatine gets so into it that he is laughing, which becomes his undoing. His cackle is what reminds Luke of why he's there. He looks at the hand Vader took from him and sees the mechanical stub from where Dooku took Anakin's hand. Luke was literally one swing away from becoming his father, which is exactly what he saw in the cave back in Empire. But he didn't. In that moment, he saw the path his father had taken. Then he does the exact opposite. Despite what Naruto might tell you, you can't appeal to someone's humanity by beating the crap out of them. So he tosses his lightsaber down, takes a page from the Bible, and lets himself be tortured. And he is blasted by Palpatine's lightning. His top comes undone, revealing that he had a white shirt on underneath. Through the not quite literal fires, Luke is challenged beyond his comprehension. This is the ultimate test for the Jedi, persevering through the Emperor's lightning. This is what all of Star Wars was building up to. One man's hope for the galaxy, another man's ambition to rule forever, and a third man's conflict between the family he genuinely wanted and the master he has served for so long. It's only through Luke's pain that Vader is able to tear away the shroud of the dark side and do the right thing. And I cannot give enough credit to George Lucas, director Richard Marquand, the editors, cinematographers, and John Williams for putting together such a perfect scene. I mean, you can feel the emotions Vader is going through. How do you even do that? And I do mean this is a perfect scene, a perfect sequence, really. This is one of the best pieces of filmmaking ever constructed, and to think it came from the lesser of the original trilogy, this is what I think of when I think of good triumphing over evil. This is the ultimate example of descending into the underworld to save someone's soul. That is why this is the most important scene. Hey, this is Mediocrity 4. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video as much as I did making it. This is the most fun I've had making a video. If you liked this video, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for more videos. I'm trying to make them more recently. I want this MIS thing to be a full-on series. You could also consider supporting me on Patreon. And if you want to hear me geek out about Star Wars in a cringe-worthy video, I have a review of Rogue One. Link will be on the screen somewhere. So, as always, thanks for watching.